Hello there. It looks like we are live and it looks like there's a couple people on already. I'm going to wait just a moment to give more people a chance to log on. If you are already watching, feel free to say hello. I see a couple hellos in the chat already. And let me know that you can see me and hear me okay. That would be appreciated. All right. All right, well, I will go ahead and get started. All right, hello, I see you can see me and hear me. Thank you. So today I just wanted to hop on and have a Q&A if you guys have any questions for me, and also to talk about our 30-day challenge. And hello, okay, I got a few more. You can see me and hear me. Thank you so much. And welcome everyone. If you are brand new, somehow you've just stumbled onto this video, my name's Wendy, and on my channel, I like to share how you can try to maintain a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Good morning. Hello, everyone. All right. So also, if you want to say where you're watching from and what the weather's like where you are, if you feel like sharing that in the chat, you can. Normally in everyday life, I'm not one for small talk, but in these virtual settings, it's kind of fun since we're watching from all over. And I'm here in Missouri. And the joke here is always, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes because it'll change. And this time of year, we can quite literally experience all four seasons in a day. But right now, it's very rainy. Actually, my power went out last night, so crossing my fingers that it doesn't go out while we're live today. But let's see, I'm going to look at my notes here, make sure what I wanted to talk about. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. I got one question ahead of time, so we'll get to that a little bit later. But I also wanted to start by mentioning that a couple days ago was actually my 4-year vegan anniversary, which when I think about it, 4 years doesn't really sound like that long. And of course, I wish that I knew this information longer ago that I could say that I've been vegan longer. But, we get to this information whenever we find it. And even though 4 years doesn't seem like that long, I'm to the point where it seems like I've been vegan forever. And I have almost forgotten what it's like to be not vegan. And I'm wondering if anyone else feels that way who's been vegan for a while. And if you want to share how long you've been plant-based or vegan, I'd love to hear that as well. But I was thinking about it and I really did. I kind of forgot what I used to eat. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how, whether you're vegan for animals or you're plant-based for your health, we all have a different pathway and our diets are constantly evolving. And so for people who are just starting, I just want to encourage people to keep up with it and know that you can always tweak your diet and continue changing it as you go. For myself, I actually had started kind of altering my diet before I went vegan. For health reasons, I switched to a paleo style diet and I was trying to heal my ulcerative colitis. And so that was the pathway I went down first. So really the diet that I eat today is the result of, by now, probably like 7 or 8 years of slowly tweaking my diet. So now I'm eating primarily whole plant foods all the time. But again, thinking back to before I was vegan, I thought I would just go through kind of what a typical day used to be like for me. And I used to always think of myself as a really healthy person. I probably was eating more fruits and vegetables than most standard Americans. But when I think back on it now, I kind of have to laugh because I was really eating a lot of processed junk food. So for example, I used to always start my day for breakfast. I would usually have some kind of cereal. My the favorites that I can remember were Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And sometimes I would also have, like those frozen waffles or Hot Pockets, things like that. The best breakfast I had was oatmeal. So I did still love my oatmeal and I had that. But otherwise, everything else was basically junk food. And then, hello, Kim. She says, hi, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for your comment. So then for lunch, I would usually eat leftovers. Even when I was working in the office, I always brought my food to work. And so I would usually have like leftovers of some kind of chili or casserole or stew, something that I had made. So that's very similar to what I still eat now. But of course, I was including animal products back then. And I would usually have a salad with it, but it was this tiny, minuscule salad that I wouldn't even, it would just be a couple bites. And then dinner would be similar things. I would cook something, but I also often had packaged foods. And again, I thought I was doing really well and eating healthfully. One of my favorite meals to make that I thought was really great was I would make boxed macaroni and cheese, and I would mix it with tuna and broccoli, and I would put that in a casserole dish and then top it with more cheese and breadcrumbs. And I thought, that was hitting all the food groups, right? You had your dairy, you had the carbs, you had the protein and it was a healthy protein of tuna, I thought. And then, of course, I had my vegetable. So I thought I was doing great. And again, like I said, looking back, I just have to kind of laugh at myself because I now, knowing what I know now, I realized that all of that wasn't, as great as I thought it was. And unfortunately, we just don't get that information. So hopefully, slowly but surely, we will all start to move in a more plant-based direction. And so I just wanted to share that. If you follow me regularly, you know that now I'm eating lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans. And I tried to avoid processed foods. So I guess, let's see. Let's go ahead and get into, I'm going to just recap what the 30-day plant-based challenge is. And hopefully, if any of you have joined the challenge, I'd love it if you share in the chat what your challenge was and how it's going. I had many people writing into me, emailing me, and messaging me about what they've been doing. And so I love hearing from you all. But if you don't know what the challenge is, I did a 30-day plant-based challenge for the month of April, and I called it the Eat More Plants Challenge because I wanted to make it really accessible and easy for anyone to join and to do this challenge in any way that works for you. So the idea was just to pick one way that you could add more plant-based foods to your diet for 30 days. So we're about halfway through the challenge, and some of the messages that I got from people, some of the ideas for what they were doing was adding a smoothie. I had a couple people who were doing that, and one person was just trying to add more vegetables to their smoothies. Several people adding a large salad every day, and then one person was going to try to add more beans to their diet because they wanted to. They hadn't been getting a lot of beans. And then a couple people were just kind of going back to basics. And I think that's great too. My parents, when they first went plant-based, would often do that. My mom called it boot camp. And she would, for like a 2-week period, they would really just try to go totally whole food plant-based, unprocessed foods. And so sometimes just doing a little reset like that can be really helpful. All right, we've got one person here in the chat trying to eat a 10-ounce bag of steamed broccoli every day. Great. And the whole point of this challenge isn't to, be completely perfect and hit your target every single day, but it's just to remind you to go back to it every day. So if you fall off, you can always start right back up with your healthy diet. So for myself, my challenge was to add a pound of steamed vegetables to my diet every day. And for me, even though I eat a pretty clean, whole food, plant-based diet, the thing that I usually struggle most with is making sure I get plenty of vegetables. And I do eat lots of vegetables and I love vegetables, but I always feel like I could be doing better. So like, for example, a couple of years ago, I started making larger smoothies for my breakfast, and I included a lot of vegetables in that. So I would use leafy greens and sometimes carrots and celery and things like that. So I've done really well with including raw vegetables. And for this challenge, I wanted to focus on cooked vegetables. So, and then we've got another person in the chat having lots of watermelon this week. Yum. All right. And that's great. Yeah. This time of year, getting ready for all of those spring and summer fruits coming. We've got another person here. Mary says 13 years vegan, but have to get back to a more whole food plant-based version. Yeah, it's really easy to, get into those. It's just more convenient, right? So there's not a lot of really convenient whole plant foods other than, if you're just eating fruit and stuff, obviously that's really convenient. But to make your meals, it does take a little more prep if you're trying to eat a really healthy version. And so it can be really easy to fall back on those processed foods to help you get through it. So doing these little challenges, I think, are helpful to get back on track. We've got Dustin here. My challenge is eating a large salad every day. I find prep work is my biggest deterrent, but I'm making time for it and getting it done. Yeah, that really is. Prepping is the key, and planning ahead. And once you get into the swing of things, once it becomes your habit, it's a lot easier to start doing it. Like I was talking about at the beginning, I've been vegan for 4 years now, and I'm starting to almost forget what it was like before I was vegan. But at the beginning, it's so overwhelming, and thinking about all the prep, and you're used to prepping things one way and doing things one way. So when you're trying to do a completely new way of eating, it takes time to get into those habits. But definitely just being persistent and continuing to go back to it is really helpful. So let's see, what was I was talking about my challenge. So my challenge was adding a pound of vegetables every day, and I've been doing pretty well. The first week was pretty solid. I did a pound of steamed veggies every day. By the second week, it was getting a little rough. I have to say, I started by a lot of the days I was just eating a pound of broccoli, which I love broccoli, but I kind of got burned out on it pretty quickly. And I was trying to eat the whole pound with my lunch for many of those days. And there was one day where I just did not feel well. And I think I was just kind of stuffing myself a little too much with the broccoli. So I kind of pivoted a little bit and started splitting it up throughout the day. So I started doing a little bit of riced cauliflower in with my oatmeal in the morning. And I really loved that. That's a great way to sneak in some vegetables. And I don't really taste the cauliflower in the oatmeal. It just gives it a nice texture. For me, it almost seemed like having nuts in the oatmeal. So it just gave it a little crunch. So then I've been having a little bit of that, and then smaller portions of steamed vegetables throughout the day. And so that really helped me. And again, like I said, the purpose of this challenge isn't to be perfect. So there have been a few days where I didn't get the full pound. I probably was only getting 10 to 12 ounces a couple of days. But most days I shoot for that full pound of veggies. But really the point is just to focus on what we eat most of the time, right? So what you eat one day isn't as important as your pattern of eating overall. So that's really all I had to talk about. Like I said, if you guys do have any questions that you want to talk about, okay, let's see. Caitlin says, I add riced cauliflower, also pumpkin puree. Yep, that's what I do all the time to my oats in the morning, and actually really like it too. Yeah. So yeah, I've always been, for the past 2 or 3 years now, I've been adding pumpkin puree to my oatmeal. And again, it's something you don't really notice the taste too much, but it makes it extra creamy, and then it's just extra veggies and nutrients there for you. So yeah, the cauliflower is also a great hack. Carol says, great idea about the cauliflower. Trying to figure out ways to bring more veggies into breakfast. Yeah, and eating veggies for breakfast, that's one thing. If any of you follow Chef AJ, she's really big on veggies for breakfast. It helps kind of just set your palate up for wanting healthy foods throughout the day. So if you start your day with something really sugary sweet, you're probably just going to keep craving sugary sweet things all day. But when you start with those vegetables, then you're kind of setting yourself up for success. So yeah, I know some people will just literally eat steamed veggies along with whatever else you're eating for breakfast. Or really, I love savory oats too. I don't do it very often myself, but making oatmeal and mixing in things like, zucchini and spinach and tomatoes and different things mixed in with your oatmeal to make a savory oatmeal, it can be really delicious. So I'm going to pivot a little bit. I had one question ahead of time in the chat from Jimmy. And he said, looking forward to this session. He's been vegan, whole food, plant-based learning mode since May of, it looks like, last year. And he was interested in tips for seniors. And I think that's a great question. And I don't know if there's something specific that he was looking for, but just generally, I would say there's really nothing different for seniors or younger people trying to switch to this diet. My main tip, or just the main thing that I would say is it's never too late. And so don't give up if you think, well, I've been eating this way for 60, 70, 80 years, however long it is before you decide to switch your diet. Just don't ever think that it's too late. No matter what your diet is, there's always room for improvement, and you can always see health improvements no matter what state of health you're currently in. I know Dr. Esselstyn often talks about one patient of his who I believe he saw him first in his 80s, and he had advanced heart disease and switched his diet. And now he's doing well, and he's either 100 or 101, something around there. So he literally started in his 80s, and now he's still going strong at 100. So it's literally never too late to get on with healthier eating. And then as far as, again, just going back to for seniors, if there's anything different, I have to start just by saying this disclaimer that I'm not a doctor or a dietitian. So definitely check with your own physician if you have particular special needs. Everyone's health and dietary needs are different. But in general, there's really nothing different for seniors. So for everyone, I would just say focus on whole plant foods and try to get a variety of different foods in the different categories of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. And as far as supplementing, for me personally, I take B12 and vitamin D. I do think it's better to get nutrients from food when we can, but of course, B12 comes from bacteria, and so we're not getting that in our clean produce. So taking B12 for me is a non-negotiable. And honestly, I think even omnivorous dieters should take B12 because many people are deficient. But as far as other nutrients, it's really a matter of if you're deficient in something, you would want to check that out with your doctor and then supplement according to what your individual needs are. But otherwise, just eating a well-balanced diet is a great way to go. Or just, like I always say, no matter what kind of diet you're eating, just try to incorporate more whole plant foods. And the other thing that people often worry about with seniors is things like protein and calcium. And some people recommend that seniors need to have more protein than the general population. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I personally think that if we're eating adequate calories, we should be getting adequate protein. So that's generally the consensus is as long as you're consuming adequate calories, you should be getting the adequate amounts of those macronutrients. But it doesn't hurt if you wanted to get a little extra protein. There are ways to do that, adding more beans, tofu, things like that. And then calcium for seniors is often a concern because people think they need more calcium for strong bones to avoid osteoporosis. But again, eating lots of leafy greens, that'll help bump up your calcium. And when you think about it, people think milk for calcium, but where did the cow get the calcium? They got it from grass. They're eating lots of their own leafy greens, so we can get it directly from the source. So those are my tips for seniors. If there was something else specific, I don't know if Jimmy is still on, he can comment more, but that's what I would say there. So anyway, I don't really have anything else to chat about. If you all have anything else, type it in the chat now. Otherwise, I might go ahead and end the stream. I know it is Easter weekend. I didn't really think about that when I scheduled this. So I know some people are probably off doing family things this weekend, maybe. But anyway, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I hope your 30-day challenge is going well. And even if you didn't start right on January 1st, you can still download the calendar. I don't have a link in the description of this video, but I'll add it right after we go off the stream. So if you want to download that calendar, you can find it there. And it also has a blank 30-day calendar, so you can start a 30-day challenge whenever you want. So Karen just hopped on, said first time checking in, happy to catch a live. Hello, welcome, glad to have you here. And yeah, so this was kind of a short live, but it's really just whatever you guys want to talk about. So if anyone has anything else, I'll wait one more moment, but then I will probably end the stream here in a minute. All right. Well, thank you all for joining, and I'll see you next time.